Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. B, your Creole Connection. And today we're going to spend a few minutes just talking about office chairs. When I retired from education, of course, I anticipated that I would be spending significantly more time in my home office. So I wanted to make the experience as comfortable and as functional as possible. And the centerpiece for home office comfort is the desk chair. The one I had was old, the seat cushion was crushed, and the lumbar support was non-existent. So after reading a large, almost dizzying number of reviews, I purchased one chair and then the other. So after using both of these chairs for a month, one is in my office and the other is repurposed to another room in my home. And I want to talk a little bit about my experience in deciding which one I decided to keep and why. Let me first say that the cost of the office chairs in general range anywhere from $50 to $5,000. I wanted a good chair, but I didn't want to break the bank. I wanted to keep the costs under $300. Now, there are a lot of good chairs out there at that price point. The key is finding them. Now, both of these chairs come in right under $200. Obviously, neither one of them has the pedigree, the warranty, or the price of a human scale chair or an Eames chair, no more than a Timex has the pedigree of a Rolex. So that factor aside, price more than anything was a primary consideration. I have sat in some very pricey office chairs that are not as comfortable as those costing a fraction of the price. So, with those disclaimers, let's dive in. Now, as I considered these two chairs, I thought about 8 factors that I wanted to talk about to do a heads-up comparison. First one was cost. Now, let me also say that the contemporary chair, the one with the headrest, is called a Lezoia, and the more traditional chair is called a Fuqido. Now, both of those are obviously Chinese manufactured, and so we're going to refer to them going forward as the contemporary and the traditional chair. Now, the cost of the contemporary chair was right at $195. And there are occasional coupons and discounts available to lower that price. The traditional chair came in at $183, and that was a pretty consistent price. So in this case, in the case of cost, then this is a wash. The $12 difference just isn't material. And so that really wasn't a deciding factor between these two chairs. The next factor was appearance. Now, my first inclination was to purchase a chair with a contemporary look. Something with a mesh back, a fabric covered seat, foam seat, a headrest, something black with chrome accents. And of course, the contemporary chair you see in front of you checks all of those boxes. Now, the traditional chair is, well, as we've been saying, more traditional. It's like every other office chair that I've owned over the years. Nothing about it excites me. It looks like a chair that could be plucked out of any office scene from the 1980s. I'm sure if you look at scenes of Mad Men, the TV show, you'll see chairs that look like this. And so, based on appearance, the edge went to the contemporary chair, because it's what I was looking for, a more contemporary feel. The next factor was the feel against my clothes and skin. Now the contemporary chair is much more breathable, especially the mesh back. And it was consistent throughout the seating experience for long periods of sitting. That was consistently cooler. The traditional chair is made of bonded leather, so it's not as breathable as the mesh. And the longer you sit, the material seems to warm. The warmer the environment, the warmer the sitting experience. No doubt about it. In terms of just the feel against my skin and clothes, the contemporary chair had the edge there as well. Now the next factor was the footprint. How much office floor space these chairs take up. Now, as you can see, both of these chairs have flip-up arms because that was very important to me. My office is 12 by 12, and I have office machines and seating around the perimeter. And so I didn't want something that was going to stick far away from my desk. So it's very important to have both of these be able to scoot under my desk when not in use. The contemporary chair has flip-up arms to lessen the footprint when not in use. And the traditional chair also has flip-up arms. But I gotta say, the flip-up arms in traditional desk chairs, you're not going to find as many choices, and they're not as easy to source. You can find the flip-up arms in the contemporary type chairs all over the place, but not the case with the traditional chairs. So in that case, again, a wash in that factor, but I'm going to give the edge to the contemporary chair because it is lighter and it is easier to scoot around in. Now, the next factor was the size of the seat. The contemporary chair was 21.5 inches wide by 25.8 inches deep. It's a bit more narrow than the traditional chair, but totally acceptable for my build and weight at 6 feet 210 pounds. The traditional chair was 23.5 inches wide and 29 inches deep. So it is much wider. I'm going to give the edge here to the traditional chair. It will accommodate larger people or people who just like a wider sitting experience. The next factor was plushness of the sitting experience. Now the contemporary chair has high density foam with a fabric covering, and it also has micro adjustments of the lumbar support. Now that was important to me because I was able to find that sweet spot where that lumbar support was ideally centered to provide maximum support. The traditional chair has high rebound dense foam with sections of springs strategically positioned to where your butt applies the greatest amount of pressure to the seat. So it was really a plush experience, and the springiness it was a little better. I'm going to give the edge here to the traditional chair. It is a very plush experience when you initially sit down, but as you continue to be seated, it kind of diminishes in that it gets a little warm. So again, the edge there went to the traditional chair in terms of just plush. The next factor was the texture and stability of the armrest. The contemporary chair, the armrests feel more like soft plastic. It's very sturdy, doesn't have much give at all. Well, no give at all, but it's only been a month. But in my opinion, this is probably the feature that will weaken first over time. Now, how much time? I don't know. It just depends on how much pressure you apply to the armrest when you are sitting or rising, and also how much pressure you place on the armrest when you're working. The traditional chair, the armrest feel more like leather, a very stable structure and very firm under pressure. And in my opinion, definitely the stronger structure between these two chairs. And so I have to give the edge here to the traditional chair. Next factor was the overall build quality. The contemporary chair was surprisingly sturdy, definitely on a par with chairs at the $200 price point and considerably higher. So the build quality of both of these chairs, of that chair, the contemporary chair, was definitely good. And the build quality of the traditional chair was likewise good. It's very tight, it has a sturdy build, and it feels like a much more expensive chair. So the edge here goes to the traditional chair because it just feels more substantial. The contemporary chair is lighter, not flimsy, but it is lighter. Now, my last factor was quirky features. Quirky features. The contemporary chair has two quirky features that are worth mentioning. Number one was the adjustable tilt lock. When you lean back, it can lock into several positions from 90 degrees to 120 degrees. So about every 10 degrees, there's a locking point that if you can lock it at that point, and you don't have to continuously apply pressure to keep it in a tilted position. It locks there. So you can put a footrest under your feet and it almost becomes a recliner. And the other quirky feature about this chair is that it has a metal base, a chrome-like finish, which is very contemporary, and is also not usually seen on chairs at this price point with as high a quality as that metal base is. It seems like it's going to last a long time without, corroding or peeling. The quirky feature on the traditional chair is that it has a small air bulb that you can pump to adjust the firmness of the lumbar support. Now, you can't have micro adjustments up and down, but you can adjust the firmness. So this seat, if it fits your back, that's good. People who are much shorter, much taller might have difficulty finding that sweet spot because the lumbar support isn't adjustable up or down, just the firmness of it. So that little bulb hangs from the back of the chair. Now, at present, so which one did I decide? Which one did I decide to use in my office? Well, at present, I am using the contemporary chair in my office. The sitting experience is not as plush as the traditional chair. The traditional chair is marginally more comfortable, but I am willing to forego that marginal comfort for a more adjustable chair with a more contemporary style. And let me hasten to say that I find the contemporary chair amazingly comfortable, not as plush as the traditional chair. We're going to come back, we're going to revisit how they are holding up under use. Both of them are being used. The contemporary chair, obviously in my office, is being used more, but both of them are getting some use. All right, let's sit in them for a minute. So here I am seated in the chair. It has a very nice action tilt action, rocking action. It tilts back, arms flip up. You can get out of your chair this way, or you can get here and just push up. The structure here is very solid. Doesn't seem like this would be a problem at all in the future. Now, it does have a little ticking sound sometimes, as a little noise coming from the mechanism, the tilting mechanism, but that's inconsistent, and it doesn't seem to be a big problem. It's inconsistent. Doesn't seem. There, you heard it right there. So this chair is nice. Now the headrest, you don't have one, and so you don't have any real support for your head and neck together. You just have to kind of push your head back like this, and that's not the most comfortable position. And to keep it tilted, you have to literally continue to apply pressure to keep it tilted back. So here I am seated in the contemporary chair, and as you can see, it's a great sitting experience for me. You can kick back, and like I was telling you before, you can lock this into position, and you don't have to apply any pressure to keep it in the tilted position. You can put your footrest here and just enjoy a movie or whatever you want to do, or just a little break during lunchtime. You pull it out, and you can adjust it back down to 90 degrees. The armrests, again, they flip up. It fits right under my desk, no problem. Right here, the build quality of this hinge is not as sturdy as the build quality on the traditional chair. So this might be a little problem over time, but it's not a problem now, because if I put pressure on this section of the chair to lift myself up or to press to get up, it doesn't move. It's nice and sturdy. The nice thing about this is the headrest, because it does provide a lot of support for your head and neck right here. So with this in a good position and this in a good position, a headrest in this thing becomes almost like a lounge chair. It's just that comfortable. Now the thing about this one is, and one of the nice features, is you have these micro adjustments on the lumbar support. So it can adjust up and down on a micro level, and you can find that sweet spot that provides the maximum amount of support for your back. That's nice. So, of both these chairs, I'm going to keep this one at my desk for the foreseeable future. And if I decide to change up, I'll go to the other one, but I think this is going to serve the needs. In fact, if I ever have to buy another office chair, I want something more like this than the traditional chair, because the footprint is small, and yet it provides an incredible amount of comfort for the price point. This is Dr. B, your Creo Connection, and we'll catch you in the next video.